Welcome to the Relevance Report, where we explore the relevant stories that are shaping our world today. I'm Joanna Clark, your host for this week. On today's show,
I have applied for probably 5 to 10 jobs in the past 2 months, and I haven't heard back from any of them.
You're sort of expected to do everything, and if you're not prepared for that, you're kind of just forced to be learning on the fly, and that's not easy to do.
Sometimes it's just a matter of being in the right place at the right time.
we're covering the transition from education to the workforce. First, we will chat about what the employment landscape looks like for those making the leap. Then we'll hear from 3 new grads and get advice from a longtime journalism industry professional. According to Statistics Canada, half of all people aged 18 to 24 in Canada are in some sort of post-secondary education. 13% of people in that age bracket are in college and 33% in university. In a pandemic-induced unemployment spike, trade workers were affected at a higher rate than university grads because they have a reduced ability to work remotely. Apprenticeships were affected heavily, and that sector hasn't yet recovered. Overall, the prospects aren't looking great for those graduating soon. Today, I'm joined by 2 MacEwan University students, Hayden Latimer and Kai Bowring. To start, where are you on the journey between education and career? Kai?
I am currently in my 4th year last semester. I've been working in communications for a couple years now, both part-time roles and full-time seasonal work. I guess I would say I am not starting my journey, but starting to look for a full-time permanent career.
Hayden, where are you on your journey?
Pretty similar. I'm also in my 4th year. I'm going to be taking an extra semester after this year as well, just to sort of tie up some loose ends. I've got an internship in the summer that I'm looking forward to, and I'm going to be looking for a career after that.
What are your goals after you graduate?
I want to get more secure in my career, in that everyone asks me, what do you want to do with your communications degree when you graduate? And I'm honestly not 100% sure. I've tried a couple different roles, like marketing to media relations to public relations. And I kind of want to expand my opportunities, kind of to, try out some things before I settle into something.
Have either of you run into challenges when applying for jobs so far?
I have actually been applying for permanent full-time positions for when I graduate, and I have applied for probably 5 to 10 jobs in the past 2 months, and I haven't heard back from any of them. But for positions that I applied for as a student, I really didn't have a lot of challenges. I heard back from most of the places I applied for.
Yeah, that kind of echoes my experience as well with not hearing back from the full-time jobs I'm applying for.
It's very competitive. It feels like every single role that you're fighting for, you've got hundreds of other people that are vying for the same thing. And so the fact that they even take a look at your resume is not always guaranteed.
It is difficult too, because a lot of these roles require extensive experience, upwards of 5 years of experience for these basically entry-level communications roles, which makes it really difficult.
Yeah. Kai, you work at MacEwan's Careers Office, and you've already had, as you mentioned, a few other jobs in the field. Have you noticed any general difficulties in the industry in either your experience or from people that you encounter who are looking for work?
I think the biggest thing for me is, as a communications worker, you are expected to be a jack of all trades. You wear many different hats. You're expected to do marketing, you're expected to do outreach, you're expected to do graphic design. Obviously, it changes depending on the role, but from my experience, I've had to have a very diverse set of skills. It's been good because I've developed a bunch of new skills, but also it's been stressful because I feel like I've been put on the spot to be, for example, we need you to design something for our organization, and I didn't really have much graphic design experience at the time, so I had to figure it out.
Yeah, do you feel like your degree has prepared you for the skills that are required in communications jobs?
In some instances, for sure. I found a lot of value in specifically my strategic communication course. That really helped me to figure out how to make strategic communication plans in an actually effective way. But I do find that it is lacking in some areas. For example, I work for Alberta Wildfire over the summer as a wildfire information officer, which is crisis communications. And I have not had noticed anything in our degree that focuses on crisis communications other than a single lecture that I took in my media relations class. And I think that that's a huge gap because it's such an important thing to know as a communications professional, even if you're not working for an organization like Alberta Wildfire, because you never know what you will have to communicate with people.
Yeah, that's true. Hayden, have you had similar issues with making sure that you have your skills lined up for what the future job market will require?
Yeah, I kind of agree with the statement that you're sort of expected to do everything. And if you're not prepared for that with the courses that you're taking, you're kind of just forced to be learning on the fly. That's not easy to do. And so that's why I think it's super important to build your portfolio in school and diversify. Because even going back to what we said earlier about how these entry-level jobs need 5 years experience, you definitely need to have a body of work that you can be proud of and show people, and that can sort of get you a leg up on the competition.
Yeah, that's true. So to wrap up our conversation, could you talk about whether or not you're optimistic about your future in your field or in the workforce in general?
I definitely am optimistic, or at least I'm trying to be optimistic. I feel like MacEwan's program does prepare you pretty well. You know, you build up a good portfolio. And I do have, some experience that I was lucky enough to get while I was in school. So I think that kind of helps give me a leg up against potentially other candidates. So yeah, I think I'm optimistic about finding a career after.
I think at the end of the day, it's just important to remember that even though you might feel like a fish out of water right now, everybody else is in the same boat as you. They're all feeling the exact same way. And so just stay optimistic and continue to try your best.
Thank you so much. Kai, thanks for joining us here today on Relevance Report.
Thank you so much for having me.
One way to navigate a challenging job market is through networking. According to HubSpot, 85% of jobs are found through networking. Networking also helps people save time and money, and it even helps increase productivity. So how can eager students getting ready to take flight in the workforce make the most of it? Hayden, I know you recently attended a networking event. Can you share your experience there?
Yeah, of course. For the third year in a row here at MacEwan University, Reach for the Stars took place, an event created to connect journalism and communication students with industry professionals in various fields. And Joe, you were able to speak with some recent grads turned professionals there, right?
Yeah, I did. Alfonso Acevedo shared how he got into freelance journalism.
The transition I think was really, it wasn't so much as a difficult transition, it was more like the hardest part for me was at least knowing, okay, there's no school, there's nothing I can fall back on anymore. So I think it was more just the fear of, okay, what do I do next? And I think it took me a little while, I think I was a little late applying to certain places, but I'm kind of happy where I ended up, at least for now, and I'm hoping it'll lead to something else in the future. I think as any student, you do have anxiety as soon as you graduate, right? You get that feeling of, well, if I don't get a job now, I'm a failure, right? You kind of get that feeling. And I think I kind of had that feeling, especially when I started seeing like some of my fellow, classmates or whatever graduate with me, or even ones I had gone to school with, find jobs or even find something that maybe wasn't what they studied, but they found something permanent. And then there was me just sitting there being like, okay, what do I do? And I think there was that fear. I think there's still that fear of, well, am I going to be able to continue what I want to do as a career, or am I going to have to transition to maybe, I took journalism, so maybe communications or something where it's definitely, I think most people would agree, a little more structured and a little better to, plan your life out in the sense of, okay, this is a full-time job, it's going to pay me full-time, I don't have to worry about finding something else to do while I'm doing freelance. And I think that fear is still there, but I think I've slowly learned to live with it and kind of embrace it in a sense.
Brianna Kitchen, who is now the Communications and Event Specialist at Explore Edmonton, says that she really loves working in tourism communications, even though she hadn't planned to take that route.
The transition for me, it was pretty seamless, thankfully. Coming to this networking event, I was able to meet professionals and get good connections. I actually created Reach for the Stars, so that gave me lots of opportunity, and It was a pretty unique situation for me because I got to research the people I wanted to work for and research the companies I wanted to work for. So I started applying, and I applied at Explore Edmonton. I got my interview right away, which was super great because the position was for events and communications, and I had just hosted an event, so I had like real life experience to share. So I got an internship right away. I got to learn so much hands-on. I got thrown into like the craziest time of the year during K-Days. So I had to work on this big K-Days reception for all of these government officials, and like the Premier of Alberta was there, and it was crazy. But it was great. Like, I feel very grateful for my path because I know it's not easy to get out of school and get a position right away. Sometimes it takes time, and the job market isn't always great. I had so much stress and anxiety. I got to my final year and felt completely lost. I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I was terrified because I did school all by myself. I got loans. I was like, if I don't get a job right away, I'm going to be screwed. I have so much money that I owe to the government. So it felt very dire and very scary. So it's a very common feeling to have. But I kind of just let go and trusted that an opportunity would come my way. All of the work that I had done in school, I knew it was going to amount to something. I just had to trust in myself. And then one day, the shining opportunity presented itself to me. One of my classmates came up to me and asked me to host a networking event. And I just went for it because it was something. And I had absolutely no idea where to go. I hadn't even done an internship yet. All that I did was I just focused on my schoolwork. And I had like 3 part-time jobs, was just trying to get through it. So the anxiety and the stress is real, but if you just do the work, believe in yourself, and just trust that opportunities are out there and they'll come to you, they really will. Good energy attracts good energy.
I also asked what advice they would have for students about making the leap. Here's what they said.
Apply. Just apply wherever you can, even if it ends up getting you a freelance job, because that's kind of how I ended up on For Vengeance. Is I just sent my application over to the Spruce Grove Saints, and I knew I probably wasn't going to get it. I knew I probably wasn't even going to get an interview, but the fact I think I sent my resume out there and it found itself across someone's desk who, worked with For Vengeance, and they were willing to, give me a chance and say, hey, your resume looks interesting. Would you be willing to do freelance work? And I think that's the biggest advice I think I'd give someone is just apply. Even if you feel you're probably not going to get the job, you never know who's going to see that resume or where it ends up even. And that would be my biggest advice, because it's definitely something that's helped me and helped me realize that even if I don't feel I'm going to get the job, I never know who's going to have my resume, whose hand it's going to end up in, whose desk it's going to end up on. And again, life's unpredictable, so you never know.
The best advice that I can give to communications, journalism, PR professionals is to network. Go to networking events, chat with people, try things, try projects, try all the things. It's very cliche to say that, but when you're young, you're in school, you don't know what you want yet. If you are a young professional, you might think you know what you want, but you probably don't. So my advice is just to keep trying things, trust in yourself, do the work, listen to your mentors, listen to the people who love you. They have your best interest in mind. Get an internship. Internship and real-world experience is also really important because that gives you an inside look into industries you might want to work for and kind of gives you an idea of the corporate life or whatever industry you might be looking into. And you're going to do a great job. Everything's going to be okay. That's also a really important thing to remember because sometimes it gets so scary and overwhelming and it feels like it's not going to be okay, but it will. It always works out in the end no matter what.
Chatting with these early career professionals and those more established in the communications industry at the Reach for the Stars event really helped me feel a little more confident about my own job prospects after I graduate. How are you feeling about what the transition will look like for you?
I'm actually feeling pretty confident about it. I recently got accepted for a summer internship through people I met at Reach for the Stars, and it really enforces the idea of how important it is to attend networking events like this because you never know what opportunities are hiding.
That's awesome. I'm glad you got that opportunity. Well, thanks so much for sharing your thoughts today on the transition from education into the workforce.
Thanks for having me.
Along with networking, established professionals can provide valuable insight for breaking into their specific fields. I spoke with veteran photojournalist Greg Southam, and here's his advice to new grads.
You have to get your name out there, talk to editors, places you want to work, and you have to show them your work and let them know what you can do. So yeah, it's just really getting yourself out there, and it's just work. That's kind of how, even back when I started 40 years ago, that's what you did. You just got out and talked to people that would hire you and get to know them and let them know that you're available and show them what you can do. And then you just have to keep working until they finally do hire you to do something. So sometimes it's just a matter of being in the right place at the right time. It's happened to me a couple times now with jobs. You just kind of luck into them. But you have to have the skills, of course, to luck into it. So yeah, it's just hard work and continually knocking on doors, I guess, or not really knocking on doors these days, but contacting people. Although I still think it's good just to see people too. In this business, it's good to let people see your face and get to know who you are personally, rather than just sending an email or a text or.
Now it's time for our question of the week. We asked, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
In 10 years, I see myself either traveling the world or working in the medical field.
I can imagine myself teaching high school students drama.
I can imagine myself working at the Citadel as a technician.
I mean, I'd like to be working a good job, a stable job, especially in the field I'm going to, preferably very wealthy.
Well, I don't even know. Just working on my design degree, probably somewhere in that field at the very least.
I'm hopefully going to be a firefighter, so it's just helping people.
Thanks for joining us for the Relevance Report. This week's episode was produced by Hayden Latimer, Lucy Gordon, and Joanna Clark. The show was edited by Hayden Latimer. The show's supervising producer is Sheena Rossiter, with additional studio supervision by Sasha Stanojevic. This episode was produced as part of the BCSC 325 Radio News and Documentaries course in the winter 2025 semester. This course is part of the Bachelor of Communication Studies program in the Department of Communication at MacEwan University. The show was edited and produced out of the MacEwan Media Production Studio. Our theme music is called Buzzing by Kaylee Lambert. Additional music includes Deep in Trance by Purple Planet Music. Logo design for this podcast is by Sasha Stanojevic, and I'm Joanna Clark, your host for this week's episode. This podcast was recorded on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis settlements and the Métis Nation of Alberta, Districts 9, 10, and 11, within the historical North Saskatchewan River Territory. Don't forget to subscribe to the Relevance Report on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you heard, please leave us a review and rating. It really helps people find the show. Please join us again next week when we report the relevant stories that are shaping our world.